YouTube live now. Facebook on live. And Facebook is live.
All right. Shalom, DC. Can you turn me up just a little bit? Test, a little more. There we go. Shalom, DC, with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, started at 1 West 125th Street, under Commanding General YAHANNA. Since 1969, we've been teaching that the Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the true Jews according to the Bible. And the reason why we don't know that is we learned our lineage, our history from our oppressor, and that the oppressor is the whole reason people celebrate. We celebrate Thanksgiving is because of our oppressor, and the true meaning behind Thanksgiving has more to do with our destruction than it does to do with any sort of celebration. What we've learned since childhood in this country is that we come together, we eat a whole lot of food, we get together with family, right, and we go around saying thanks for what we have and what we've come to achieve from the past year. And all of that is a bunch of nonsense, because the truth behind it is the reason why it's called Thanksgiving. It has everything to do with a massacre of women, children, and men, old people and young people alike. It has everything to do with one people destroying another, and the people that is getting destroyed had no protection. It was a straight setup. Everything about Thanksgiving was a setup, right. And one of the reasons why it was such a massacre is because we actually trusted our enemy. And we're going to get a little bit into it. First we want to get into the idea, the concept of Thanksgiving right now comes from two separate events in history. Both have something in common, and both are connected in one way. And we're going to show you the connection of what happened. If you can, get me the Great Falls Tribune article.
Okay. The Great Falls Tribune?
Yeah.
I'm looking at that. Should be actually.
It's the last one. It's the title is "For Some Native Americans." This right here is an article written by a Native American family that's actually celebrating Thanksgiving. They're giving you their thoughts on what it means to them and how it affects them. Go ahead and start from the top, and we're going to skip down a few times.
Okay. We got Great Falls Tribune. For some Native Americans, Thanksgiving a reminder of history and culture laws. Every Thanksgiving morning, Julie Mitchell, the 48, wakes up at around 5 a.m. to cook. Riley, one of Julie's daughters, wakes up about 5 hours later and prefers to ease into the day.
All right, so just like with our so-called Blacks and Hispanics, these Native Americans, get up in the wee hours of the morning. Some of the sisters usually cook the night before, cook into the night, and prepare it for the next day, and cook well into the next day as well.
Right.
This Thanksgiving feast is a long enduring labor for our sisters to have for the family. Usually, right, when we do have a Thanksgiving celebration, usually we have people coming in from all over the country, all over the town coming in, and we even have guests coming in, popping in later in the evening, right, going to different people's houses and whatnot. So we usually have it's going to be more than just the immediate family that's there. Some of us we travel, go to different places, different areas of the country and see people we haven't seen mostly throughout the year. So when we get together, we have a big feast, and a lot of times it's going to take us a long time. Skip me down to a dark history.
Okay. A dark history. The first Thanksgiving is generally regarded in history as a gathering among pilgrims and Native Americans. In September of 1620, the Mayflower ship left England with 102 passengers seeking a new home. When they arrived in the New World, they suffered a brutal winter and exposure to new diseases.
So when they these Europeans, these Puritans, these people who are seeking lands to express their religious beliefs more freely, they left Europe to come to this so-called New World to do exactly that. When they got here, they didn't know much of anything of how to survive in the land. When they landed here, the area that they landed in was more of a sandy, beachy type area. They could not grow the things that they were accustomed to growing back in the old world. Being Israel, a lot of us took pity on these travelers. So there was a tribe, one in particular, at this time, took pity on them. Like I said, it was 102 of them that came there. By the time the next year, the following year had came, most of them had died. Most of them had died because of the winter. They starved. They didn't have enough crops. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to hunt in that land. So these guys slowly died off. The native Indians, that tribe in particular, helped them. They saw them. They helped them. Skip me down to later on in history. 2 paragraphs down. Matter of fact, that next paragraph after the picture.
Go. The one right after the picture?
Yes.
Go. But because of trends of violence against Native Americans throughout history, some suspect Thanksgiving likely has a darker history.
So because everybody knows that there has been a lot of violence against the Native Americans, you can ask anybody throughout the world to picture an American right now, and no one will describe the depiction of a Native American, even though this is their land. The white man has taken over, and they have distorted. They have forced their image on this land. They've taken over. They've slaughtered. They've murdered and killed everything in sight. So much so that the number of Native Americans that number here are just a fraction of what it was when they first came here. Keep going.
Later on, quote unquote, later on in history, the Europeans would have a meal after they had a massacre. They would have a Thanksgiving feast. So it's a little weird, said Julie.
Keep going.
Riley said that when people think of Thanksgiving, they might imagine ghost-like figures of Europeans fighting for America. Instead, she imagines ghosts of her ancestors who were killed. For Riley, Thanksgiving is a time to reflect on her family history.
That's the real true spirit of Thanksgiving. When we see Thanksgiving, when we're cutting into that turkey, or we're digging into the sides, the mac and cheese and all that stuff, and all the desserts that is laid out at this feast, we shouldn't be imagining, giving thanks for having a job, or being able to save some money, or now being COVID free and not really losing anybody from COVID. That's what I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be saying that they're thankful for. But in reality, this Thanksgiving, it's giving thanks to a massacre of a bunch of defenseless people. Now, this story, like she said, she's a Native American kid going to an elementary school with a bunch of white kids, and most of them don't even realize how Thanksgiving really affects Native American life in general. Most Native Americans right now living on reservations, which is really a concentration camp, and they number few and far between. Once upon a time, the American government or the British colonies, and then the American government forced these Native Americans to move on to less desirable land at that time. The Native Americans lived a free range roaming type of lifestyle. They went where the herds went. So whenever the herds went on to graze, that was their main source of food and clothing, hide. They followed those herds. Since those herds were in prime real estate, according to the Europeans, these menaces called the Native Americans, these savages, must be relocated. So they relocated them to more desolate places, more places that are there's rocky terrain that you couldn't grow, that the herds did not come to. And because of that, the Native Americans, because of that, and amongst other things like diseases, the Native Americans, dwindled greatly in number to the point where even if we walk past a Native American right now, we wouldn't know it. A lot of times we wouldn't know what a Native American really would look like, really would sound like. We don't know what the tongue that they spoke, because when the Europeans got here, they did a great deal of stamping out Native American culture.
Right.
Go down to History is Twisted. You see it?
Yeah, I see it.
All right.
Okay. Quote unquote, history is twisted. It's a one-sided story, always told from a Eurocentric point of view, she said. But racism is not just a product of the past. It still affects Riley and her mom every day. Riley said her skin is dark, so she can't hide the fact that she's Native American.
That's a damn shame, because she's surrounded by the oppressor. And the way that they live, it sounded like she's ashamed to have dark skin, to be of that Native American heritage.
Right.
And one of the reasons why it's shaming her is because she believes that her being that her people have been slaughtered so easily and handedly, that is a bad thing. And then on top of that, once the Native Americans had been slaughtered, they had really no might, no will to fight back. There was another smear campaign to add on to their misery, and we're going to talk about that. Go down to the next paragraph, right before a culture loss. Oh wait, hold on. Go up a little. Says it's easy to be mean to a group.
God. It's easy to be mean to a group if you don't think they're human, said Riley.
She believes that they don't think, when I say they, the European settlers who conquered this land do not think that the Native Americans are humans. They routinely called them savages because they thought that they were wild, that they didn't have any customs, any traditions, any ways of civility, when in fact, most of the U.S. government, the way that they handle business right now, they've taken that off of the Native Americans. That's very hypocritical. But this is part of the smear campaign of what the Europeans, the oppressors, have done to us, to our brothers and sisters of the Native Americans. Keep going.
Adding that when people see Native Americans, they see casinos, drunks, and junk cars, but they don't see them as people.
So they see us as having casinos, drunks, and junk cars, something of a wasteland. And for all intents and purposes, that was given to the Native American reservations as a means of making some sort of income. But casinos is such a device that it controls people, it warps people's minds, and it changes their attitudes. Add on to the fact that they flooded the reservations with drugs and alcohol, just like they did in the barrios, just like they did in the hood, and they essentially destroyed a people that way. who helped these pilgrims when they first got over here, what were their names, and what caused the rift between the two nations.
It's loading up.
No sweat. Yeah, it's still low enough for me as well. So there had been a peace for a generation. It was just one generation that it was peace between the pilgrims and this certain Native American tribe. This Native American tribe is called the Wampanoag. The Wampanoag tribe was the ones that first greeted the pilgrims that came off the Mayflower and taught these people how to survive the winter, what they needed to stay warm, how they could plant and actually harvest crops. If they were sick, they taught them how to beat that illness with the herbs that they had in this land. They saved their lives, because if they would have went one more winter, all of them would have died. Just one winter killed half of that first ship crew. You got it?
It's still loaded. It's a lot.
All right, no sweat. Hold on. I'll send it to you like this.
It's pretty much loaded up now.
It's loaded up? All right.
Cut. Yeah, it's loaded up.
All right, go ahead.
The true story behind this is a bloody struggle that decimated the population and ended with a head on a stick.
All right, drop me down to as the story goes.
As the story goes, friendly local Native Americans swooped in to teach the struggling colonists how to survive in the new world. Then everyone got together to celebrate with a feast in 1621. Attendees included at least 90 men from the Wampano tribe and the 50 or so surviving Mayflower passengers, according to time.
So, like just like in today's time, we get together in large groups of people, and we come together and we have a feast. This feast, this original feast that stems from the tradition of Thanksgiving, was actually 3 days long. One of the reasons why it was 3 days long was because where the tribe was staying took them 2 days to actually get to the location where they were holding the feast. The tribe wanted to live far away from these settlers. They really didn't trust them. There was tension the whole duration of this arrangement, this meeting, and they lived far away. One of the reasons, and we might get into it, but one of the reasons why they held this feast was because they survived. That first winter killed half of them. Once spring broke, the tribe came over there and helped them out, taught them how to grow crops, taught them how to basically survive in this new world. The next winter came by, and they actually survived this winter. And because they survived this winter, they wanted to, the story goes, they wanted to celebrate their survival. But really and truly, they wanted to ensure a pact, an agreement that they had come to, where they wouldn't, a treaty, that they wouldn't attack one another when they come and trade. Whenever one of the stipulations was, whenever they got together to trade goods, the settlers would not bring their guns, and the Native Americans would not bring their bows and arrows. This is one of the stipulations of the treaties. And this feast was only to ensure that they would have peace and secure lands that the pilgrims wanted, even though it was only 50 of them, and they basically had nothing. They could have just stayed where they were and farmed the land where they were, fish where they were, but they wanted to span out and reach out. That's one of the reasons why it caused a rift in between the two communities and two nations. Drop me down over Drop me down a paragraph.
In reality, Thanksgiving feast predate. In reality, Thanksgiving feast predate planning. You'll even find a number of localities have they declaimed the first Thanksgiving for themselves.
All right, so just the concept of Thanksgiving, a lot of different people, especially here in Virginia, claim that they held the first Thanksgiving. One of the first claims came in 1524 in 1500s, and they claimed that they had the first Thanksgiving. So this is one of the this is the main story that held the story to Thanksgiving. And we're going to go down to the chief's name was, so like, if you could, can you wipe the lens?
It's refocused now.
It's refocused now. All right. The water. Appreciate it. The chiefs at this time, his name was Massasoit. He was a chief. He was the actual chief that led his people to help the
tribes like the
Narragansetts
in Massachusetts. However, the alliance became strained over time.
So this is a very important distinction right here. They set up alliances with the French, who the French hate the British. And those wars, those conflicts that was over there at in the old world spilled over here to the new world. And a lot of times, once those conflicts spilled over here to the new world, it got just as bloody as it was in the old world. The local tribe called the Narragansetts and the Massachusetts, the Narragansetts in particular, play a vital part in what's to come. So I'm just going to get a little bit more on this. So Massasoit was, like I said, was the chief, the primary chief in this time. He's the one that wanted peace between the two nations. Most of a lot of the tribe did not trust him. But the leader said, we need to. They're going to be here. And they're gonna be here for a long time to come. So we need to find some sort of peace with them. That was his thinking. If you could, Baqashyah, get me down to thousands of English colonists.
Thousands of English colonists poured into the region throughout the 17th century. According to historic contact, Indian people and colonists in today's northeastern United States, authorities in Plymouth began asserting control over, quote, most aspects of a Wampanoag life.
So right here it's showing that even though we had our own place, they had their place, their land, their area, their section. We had our own. Just like the oppressor, they come and they want to rule everything. They want to take over everything. And it's saying is the most aspects of this particular tribe's life, they wanted to control. When they were the ones who taught them how to live, how to survive, how to live. When they got sick, they went over there and asked them how to get better. When they got hungry, they went over there, asked them how to hunt, how to fish, how to grow crops. They're the ones who saved them, and now they want to control them. Keep going.
God. As settlers increasingly ate up more land, the Gilder Herman Institute of American History estimated disease had already reduced the Native American population in New England by as much as 90% from 1616 to 1619.
So in 3 years, the population of the Native Americans dropped 90%. In 3 years. If you could, Baqashyah, get Jeremiah 49 and 19. Because this right here is biblical.
Jeremiah what?
Jeremiah 49 and 17. It's going to tell you exactly what we're reading in this article right here.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 49, verse 17. Also, Edom shall be a desolation.
Who knows what Edom is? So like, brother, you know what Edom is?
The red, the white people.
Exactly. Right on.
That's right.
Edom is Esau, is Idumea, is Edom. All those refer to the same people.
17.
So right here, he says Edom is a desolation. Keep going, Bible. Read from the top one more again.
Verse 17. Also, Edom shall be a desolation. Everyone that goeth by it shall be astonished and shall hiss at all the plagues thereof.
Everybody that goes beside it shall be astonished by its plagues. So what are they saying? You know how they say you need to stay away from rats, or if you have a problem with rats, you need to handle that problem. Why? Because rats carry diseases. You know, the Black Plague in Europe was transmitted in large part by rats. Rats carry a bunch of diseases. Why? Because the people in that time and era were a bunch of filthy, nasty, no behind washing cells.
Right.
All you had to do was actually stay clean, wash your hands, just like the way they're saying right now. Wash your hands, you know, wash yourself,
right.
Wash your clothes, wash the things that you eat with. But nah, they didn't do it. So this scripture is basically saying that it was proven back then, way back then when it was written, that these people carried diseases.
Right.
It's a prime example of when of how much they carried diseases. They came to this new world, and 90% of the doggone population of the indigenous people died in 3 years. 90%. You bring a new people in, and 90% of them die. Are you serious? Boy, I tell you. Keep going, Baqashyah.
On the scripture?
On the
article.
Yeah.
Come. From 1616 to 1619, an indigenous people continue to die from what the colonists called Indian fever.
They have the nerve to say, call it an Indian fever. Are you serious? They got it from them. They're the reason why the Native Americans were dying. Keep going.
By the time Massasoit's son, Metacomet, known to the English as King Philip, inherited leadership, relations had frayed. So
he wasn't trusting them in the first place. They taught them how to live. They taught them how to survive. And when they more of them poured in, they wanted to assert their power. They got greedy. That's basically what it was. They got greedy and they wanted everything to themselves. And when they couldn't have it, they wanted to take it by force. And a lot of that did not sit well with the son Metacomet. And because that didn't sit well, it was like little nitpicky, they were picking back and forth at each other until something came to a head. And we're about to read what that thing was. Keep going.
King Philip's war was sparked with several of Metacomet's men were executed for the murder of Panapko, interpreter and Christian convert John Sassamon.
So this guy, John Sassamon, was a Native American. He was an indentured servant, a slave, to some colonists. They took him over to Europe for a time. They brought him back. He learned the language. He converted to Christianity. What happened? The official story. What happened was because of the strained relationship between the two countries, the two nations, they were planning on attacking them. When I say they, I'm talking about the I'm talking about the tribe, the Native Americans were actually planning on attacking the Pilgrims. This interpreter found out about it and snitched on him. Told them. When they found out that they told him, they kidnapped him, tried to get some information out of him. They wound up killing him. There was 3 men that was seen by other colonists, and they arrested these 3 men. They tried them and executed them. Now, Metacomet was adamant, saying that his men, because those were his men, that his men did not kill this interpreter. because they killed him, they actually went to war. And that's how that particular instance started. Now, when they went to war, just for time's sake, when they went, matter of fact, go down to Springfield, Massachusetts.
Springfield, Massachusetts was burned to the ground. The Wampanoag abducted colonists for ransom. English forces attacked the Narragansetts on a bitter frozen swamp for harboring fleeing Wampanoag.
So, all right, so it was important that I mentioned that other tribe, Narragansetts, because right here it was showing you that first of all, the Narragansetts, they didn't want no parts of the war. They wanted to remain as neutral as possible. They let both sides know we're not interested in fighting either of you. So, you know, just leave us out of it. For the most part, they left them out of it. Now, they're saying that the colonists burned down this town where they were settling. The Narragansetts were. They burnt it down because they were harboring some of the people that were fleeing from the war. And when I say that, I'm talking about the Native Americans. They were harboring them. The colonists wanted to kill them. But why would you let some other nation come into your land and kill your people? You know, why would you hand your people over? Give me Hebrews 13:1.
The book of Hebrews chapter 13, verse 1. Let brotherly love continue. Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained.
He said, let brotherly love continue, for hereby you don't know if you're entertaining angels. You got it? Hebrews 13:1. This is the perfect example of how you should treat your brother according to the scriptures. We're gonna get a few scriptures on this on how we should treat our brothers.
Okay, I got you. The book of Hebrews chapter 13, verse 1. Let brotherly love continue. Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares.
All right, so it says you basically basically what it's saying, entertain the strangers. You know, you never know who you're entertaining. Is there anybody think of a precept of what that scripture was about? Comic-Con Cap says leave that there.
I mean, if I'm correct off the top of my head, precept remind me of in the Old Testament we'll say how you ought to treat another brother as a stranger, but I don't think that's referring to this context.
No, basically, you want to give it a shot, brother? Okay, no sweat. Good answer. If you don't know, just say you don't know. Don't try and make anything up. That's what we're here for, to teach. So the precept that I'm talking about is Lot when he was in Sodom and Gomorrah. Two strangers came by, or even before that, when Abraham, when the strangers came to Abraham, the three strangers came to Abraham. They were angels testing him, letting him know that, hey, we're about to destroy this city over here. He was nice. He was kind to them. He brought them into his tent. He fed them. He made a feast for these strangers that just came by. He didn't know who they were. When they went, the two of the angels went to Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot, protected them. These Sodomites were trying to break down the door and rape them. Lot protected them. He didn't know these strangers. He just met them on the street right then and there. So this is the precept is saying, Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby they have entertained angels unaware. So you may not know who you're entertaining. You may not know. This could be the Most High sending somebody, sending one of His angels to test to see how brotherly you are. Guys.
But they teach us, like, from kids, like, not to talk to strangers.
Not to talk to strangers. You want to know why? Why? Because we're living in our oppressive society. The way we live now is because our oppressors think it's cool to hurt and harm children. The most innocent of us. Why would anybody wanna hurt and harm a child? Whether it does to do physical violence or just mess with their heads or do anything unconceived. A lot of those people are sexual deviants. Attacking children. That's why since we live in captivity, we must teach our children that. But in the kingdom, the way the Most High set it up, a stranger coming in, we need to invite them into our house. We need to protect them. We need to show them love. Because when they're talking about a stranger, they're not talking about somebody from another nation. They're talking about another Israelite. Because the scripture says that, we ought to live together. We shouldn't be living, amongst different nations. We're one nation. We need to live together. And what a stranger is basically is an Israelite that may have lived a couple towns away. You just don't know them, but you know that they're an Israelite. So you need to treat that stranger as a brother. So, and that's why we teach our children today, don't talk to strangers. Did I answer your question? All right, cool. Read the next verse, Baqashyah.
God. Remember them that are in bonds.
So it's saying, remember them that are in bonds, which is, in custody, chained up.
As bound with them.
Just do that as treat them as just like as you're locked up with them.
And them which suffer adversity as being yourselves also in the body.
So when it's saying suffer adversities, if you look up the Hebrew word, they're talking about a lot of trial, like torturous, events. So if you see somebody who's in dire need, just like you need to make it like you're in dire need as well. So when these people were fleeing from the war, most of them were women and children that this tribe was actually harboring, that they were protecting. One, they were their brothers and sisters. They were the brother and sister tribe. They were their people, and there was another nation coming to kill them, seeking to kill them. So even though they did not follow the laws of the Most High at this time, they still had the laws in them saying, I'm going to protect my brother against somebody else who's trying to kill them. That spirit that they had in them got them killed. It shows you, read on for the article, and it'll show you exactly what I'm talking about.
They died protecting their people.
They were killed by the settlers that came looking for those fleeing people. And like I said, they were women and children and old people, the ones that weren't fighting. They fled from the fighting. The colonists came and ran and sought them out and wanted to kill them. And because this tribe was harboring them because they wanted to kill every last one of them, it didn't matter. They killed them too. Keep going, Brock. The article.
600 Nereidicites were killed, and the tribe's water stores were ruined, according to Atlas Obscura. Colonists in far-flung settlements relocated to more fortified areas, while the Wampanoag and allied tribes were forced to flee their villages.
So right here, it basically that village that this tribe had, they killed 600 people. They burned down their food, their food stores and all that. They made sure even if anybody did survive, they weren't going to come back to this settlement, this area, which is wicked and evil because they even burned their food. Like, come on. Like if you're in a war, one thing that it doesn't matter what side you're on, you're going to need food. So they even burned the food. Some devils here. Keep going. That next column is an important part right here.
The colonists ultimately allied with several tribes like the Mohegans and Pequots, despite initial reluctance from the Plymouth leadership.
So right here is showing you that there was two other tribes that were allied with the Native Americans. Now, at the beginning of this class, I told you that it was the Thanksgiving that we know of stems from two separate events, two separate storylines. This is one storyline where the Pilgrims came over and they were helped by the Native Americans, and from that they had a big feast, and they feasted year after year. But actually, in that storyline, they held a feast one time. That wasn't a yearly thing. Now, if you could, just for time's sake, go down one paragraph and get me the son of the man is in the middle of the paragraph.
Of the next paragraph.
Yeah.
I see it. The son of the man who had sustained and celebrated with the Plymouth colony was then beheaded and dismembered.
So the man who made peace with the Pilgrims, when he died, his son eventually went to war with those same Pilgrims. And this is what the war happened. Once the war was over, this is what they did to him. Read that last part again.
Come. And celebrated with the Plymouth colony was then beheaded and dismembered, according to, quote, it happened in Rhode Island.
He was beheaded and dismembered. Keep going. This is another important part right here.
His remaining allies were killed.
Were killed and what?
Or sold into slavery in the West Indies.
If you could, get me Deuteronomy 28:68. Okay. I want you to read that for me, Baqashyah. It's the fourth book. Deuteronomy is the fourth, 28, chapter 28. Mm-hmm. And the 6th verse 68.
You say you want the brother to read it?
Yeah.
Okay, stop.
Let me know when you have it.
I got it.
You got it? All right, one more time. Barack, can you read that last part again? The colonists, his remaining allies.
Come. And what there was his remaining allies were killed or sold into slavery in the West Indies.
So right here, we're in Massachusetts, in New England. You know where New England is, right? Right? You know where the West Indies are?
Yes.
You know how to get there? You know how to get there. Like if you were to go, if you was in there in 1619, how would you get from Massachusetts to the West Indies?
In 1619?
Yeah.
By ship, right?
Okay. Read that scripture.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Okay, right there. He said, the Lord shall bring thee. We're reading from Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 69. And it said, the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt. Egypt right there does not mean the land of Egypt. It's talking about slavery. It's talking about bondage. So it's saying the Lord will bring you, Israel, into bondage again. With what?
With ships.
Again with ships. How did those remaining Indians get down, or Native Americans get down to the West Indies? By way of ships. For any of you fake Israelites out there that says that Native Americans or so-called Hispanics are not Israel, it's just showing you right here. Said it first in the scriptures, and then we're reading articles of what actually happened in history, showing you who these people are. They are our brothers. They are our sisters. Keep going, Baqashyah. Yeah, brother. If you could, just read a little louder as well.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again.
When they say thou shalt see it no more again, they're talking about their homeland. They ain't going to see their homeland again. They ain't going to see their ways, their cultures, their own people. everything that they had, that they were doing, they were not going to see it again. Keep going, Baqashyah.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen.
So it says you're going to be sold to your enemies as a slave man and as a slave woman. First of all, who put them on them ships? Brother, who put them on the ships in the first place?
The pilgrims.
The pilgrims. What do the pilgrims look like?
They're white.
All right. Once they got down to the West Indies, who bought them?
White people, right?
So they were sold to their enemies by their enemies.
Mm-hmm.
So the Most High called these people enemies. Called them enemies for a reason. What kind of a friend will actually, sell their friends into slavery? Ain't no friends at all. No friends at all. Now I got you. It showed here that there were two tribes that were allied with the colonists. If you could, Baqashyah, get me the 1637 Pequot massacre.
1637. Let's load it up.
All right, it's loading up. All right. So as you can tell, I just by the name of it, the 1637 Pequot massacre, it showed you that the people who helped a stranger, the enemy, allied with someone else that was not of their nation, helped and kill another nation and have them sold into slavery. They went back and this is what happened. And this is the other part of the Thanksgiving story that is brought together. And this particular instance right here is when it was actually instituted as a yearly sort of feast, dedication feast.
It's still loaded on my end.
All right, hold on 1 second. Your eardrop is up?
Guys.
There you go.
Yeah, it's still got a load even when you send it like that.
You sure?
Gone.
All right, I'm gonna read it just for time's sake.
But mine is not loaded.
Still, no sweat.
I'm about to get the 12.
In 1637, near present-day Groton, Connecticut, over 700 men, women, and children of the Pequot tribe had gathered for their annual Green Corn Festival, which is our Thanksgiving celebration. So that Green Corn Festival was a celebration of the Native Americans. That's what they had gathered all across, the region. They gathered there to celebrate this in this time and place. To continue, in the pre-dawn hours, the sleeping Indians were surrounded by English and Dutch mercenaries who ordered them to come outside. Those who came out were shot and clubbed to death, while the terrified women and children who huddled inside the longhouse was burned alive. So just like I brought out a few weeks ago, how the way there was riots in East St. Louis. When they rioted in the black section of town, they wanted us to come out, and when we didn't come out, they burned the apartments down. If you stayed in, you burned alive. If you came out, you were shot.
What was it?
This was the East St. Louis riots in 1913. 1917. 1917. That's when the East St. Louis riot happened, and they used this very same tactic that was used 2 centuries, 3 centuries prior. Very same tactic. So anybody who came out first were shot and beaten to death. The women and children were left. Why would you kill the women and children? They're not attacking you. The old people were there too. So it's said that they were shot and clubbed to death while the terrified women and children huddled inside the longhouse and burned alive. The next day, the governor of Massachusetts Bay Colony declared a day of Thanksgiving. because 700 unarmed men, women, and children had been murdered. So from that day forward, they gave a day of thanks because they murdered and slaughtered this tribe. Now, mind you, if you've ever been to a celebration, you haven't seen your peoples for quite some time. You go into a celebration, a lot of eating, a lot of dancing, a lot of celebrating, a lot of drinking is going to be had at that celebration. These bastards, cowards, waited until everybody was fed, had the itis, was drinking, you know what I'm saying, all of that, and waited till the pre-dawn hours when everybody was fast asleep and went and slaughtered them. Not just the men, but the women and the children. It was so bad that it was just for time's sake, it was so bad that it was 14 people that escaped. 14 people escaped the fire or being clubbed. 7 of them were captured and sold into slavery, and the other 7 they went out into the swamp, was never seen or heard of again. This is the day of Thanksgiving. This is what Thanksgiving is truly about. Thanksgiving is about deception. Is about murder, senseless murder of helpless men, women, and children. And every year they commemorate this by having a feast. So, like, if you could give me I despise. You know what I want.
Amos 5:21.
Okay. This is one feast day that no one can argue. No one and no Christian really can argue that this is not a day of eating, a feast. They can't argue this scripture that I'm about to bring out.
The book of Amos chapter 5 verse 21. I hate. This is the Most High speaking. He says I hate, but Christians say God doesn't hate. Keep going, Baqashyah. I despise your feast days.
Your feast days. Your feast days. This is written thousands of years ago. Most High says he hates, he despises your feast days. This is not the only time in history when we're celebrating somebody else's holidays.
Right.
This is not the only time when we're taking on other people's cultures. And the Most High put it in the scripture so that we remember it. Most High hates, he despises our feast days. Keep going.
I will not smell in your solemn assemblies.
He will not smell in your solemn. That means he ain't gonna be nowhere around. If you trying to assemble and call on the Most High's name for anything, he's not gonna be there. He's not gonna be there. He doesn't want anything. He doesn't want anything to do with what we have taken on. When he's given us holidays and feast days and celebrations, how to do it properly, and we shed that and we do something else, he was like, I don't want anything to do with you. I don't want anything to do with you. I have so much more. I'm going to have to call it quits right now. So with that, I'm about to class over to Barak.
Security. The security announcements via the I.S.U.P.K at 1 West 125th Street out of Harlem, New York, under Commander General YAHANNA. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They're to be saluted only. They're here to share themselves with the world. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After the 6 month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Ties with the commandment. You can find us in the book of Numbers chapter 18 verse 21 and Malachi chapter 3 verse 8 through 10. Means 10th in Hebrew and it's pronounced ma'ashura. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. You give to the treasury department of the teacher. Priest fund, free will offer for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like to give. The upcoming holy convocation will be the feast of dedication, which is the Hanukkah. That'll be December 9th. That'll be December 9th, the 25th day of the 9th month, by the space of 8 days. Once again, December 9th, you can find us in 1 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 52 through 61. That'll be held for the DC schools of right now at the DC school for the upcoming holy convocation regarding the 51st annual Passover as well. Stay in close contact with your camp leader on any updates regarding the Passover. Anything you want to add to that? No sweat. Also, today's Monday night, today's Commander General YAHANNA's Black Watch Monday night radio show. You want to make sure you tune into that at 9 p.m. At 9 p.m. Want to make sure you post into that. Like, share, subscribe to that channel, please. Remind Dr. Wafi to check on social media such as ISUPK.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for ISUPK events and materials. If your brother wants to be a trooper in the school, you should start wearing all black, which includes black boots, black shirts, black pants, black headband, and scarf. And with that, I say Amajim, which means to stand. Let's go say that. Let's go do one courtesy salute to the teacher. May the visitor Amada Shabbat, Amajim, Barak, Yahweh Hashem Yahshua Barakatah.
Yahweh Hashem Yahshua Barakatah.
Yours Matah. That's just now. And the camera got messed up. Oh, you moved it.
Yeah, I'm moving.
Damn.